Hello, hello, hello. I'm HoJo.
And I'm Hunnsy.
And welcome to this, the 19th episode of HoJo and Hunssy's Hard Rock House, the safe space for old rock gummies just like us, where one of us is having a midlife metal crisis by becoming more of a tattooed love boy. That's the hot news from HoJo and Hunssy's Hard Rock Towers this week. Hunnsy, you've had a tattoo.
Well, I've had another tattoo.
Oh, yeah, sorry, another tattoo.
I decided whilst taking a trip recently to Cancun in Mexico.
I love the way you just dropped that one in. A trip to Cancun.
Yeah, a little trip to Cancun. I thought I'd get my sleeve completed, if you know what that means. I had the top half of my arm tattooed in my first midlife crisis, and I decided that I was having a second midlife crisis. So I decided to book myself in to get a tattoo in Mexico whilst on holiday.
Okay, so did this happen on a whim, or was this planned?
Oh, this was pre-planned.
So how did you find a tattooist, first and foremost, and why did you decide to do it in Cancun?
I thought, right, I need a window of opportunity where work doesn't get in the way. And so I thought, holiday? I'll take a day out of my holiday to go and get it sorted. So did a bit of research online, found a tattooist in Cancun that I really liked.
What's his name?
Collective Art Cancun.
Right.
And the guy who did it was the owner, a guy called Louis, and he was unbelievable.
Did he speak English?
Yeah, bit of broken English.
How's your Spanish?
Bit of broken Spanish. It all went swimmingly. I'm really pleased with it. It's been a week. It was a week ago today, actually. I had it done. I've been creaming it regularly, but now it's oh, stop it. But now all the bits are starting to come off, and the full art will be revealed probably in the next couple of days. It looks amazing.
Okay, so what you presumably got to do for the harder visuals on a podcast, you're going to have to put something up on our social media channels, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I'll put a picture up, definitely.
Okay.
So you can see what it looks like.
Yeah,
you know.
and we can have a vote whether people like it or not. Tell people who haven't seen it yet, who are itching to know what's on it.
Well, the top half that I'd already had done, I'm a big fan of Ravens, and Raven, the band, obviously.
I hope it's a Raven logo.
Well, yeah, I did consider it.
All for one. A picture of your face, your daughter's face, and your wife's face.
Wearing ice hockey masks.
Yeah.
No, so basically I wanted to connect the top half with the bottom half. So I sent him a picture of the top half and said, I'm into Ravens, I'm into Nordic iconography, and I love a good Viking. And he came back with a design, and it's brilliant. A Viking's elder. And at the bottom of his face, there's another raven, where there's like a lightning bolt coming out of the raven's eye that goes into the eye of the Viking. It's like, and then it's all, you laugh. Why are you laughing?
It's brilliant. I love it so much.
I'll post a picture up.
Okay. Has he got an eye patch? Because it looked to me like he had an eye patch.
Yeah, he's got an eye patch.
Oh, really? He's got an eye patch.
Of course he's got an eye patch.
It reminded me of that Jethro Tull album sleeve, though, Broadsword. Was that anywhere an inspiration to it?
I don't think Jethro Tull were inspired by Vikings and Valhalla and all that sort of stuff.
But do you know that cover of Broadsword?
I do.
Kind of piratey, isn't it?
It's not a pirate.
Sorry.
Sorry. Jesus Christ, you think I had a tattoo of Captain Pugwash on me?
Well, it's an idea.
Was this planned, this intro, then? Just to spend the first 3 or 4 minutes ridiculing?
Well, it was kind of... Not ridiculing. Discussing.
Celebrating.
Yeah. Well, it's a thing. It's massive.
It's now completed. My arm is complete. My midlife crisis is complete.
Do you think, though, that there could be a further midlife crisis and you'll move to the left?
Well, I've got a really shitty one on the top of my left arm.
Have you? What is it? Is that one of the moon or something?
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
When did you get that one done?
I got about 1994. I was going through not a midlife crisis, a sort of...
No, a young man's crisis.
A young man's crisis.
Do you only have tattoos when you're in a crisis?
Yes. It's called crisis management.
Okay, very good.
No, but I've got to get that one sorted because it looks a bit shit.
But you see, don't you think there's a certain kind of joy in keeping your shit tattoos? The ones that you had when you were young and you didn't know what you were doing. It kind of is supposed to be a bit of a visual marker of the stages of your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got some terrible tattoos.
I know you have. You had one done recently, which was a homage to the Accept's Breaker album.
I call it art, you call it barbed wire. It's all about opinions.
Plenty of my mates over the years had tattoos, and I remember a few of them getting Hanoi Rocks tattoos.
Oh, brilliant.
Which obviously at the time, very cool, but I'm thinking now, in their mid-50s, do you want a Hanoi Rocks tattoo?
I think probably not.
Nah.
Mike Monroe would be all right, or Demolition 23. That would be all right.
Yeah. I mean, people have got those youth gone wild tattoos and all that.
Yeah, and obviously they just have to turn the W upside down now, don't they?
Youth gone mild. Yeah.
Youth gone mild.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you were happy with your tattoo. I'm glad that you were delighted with the work of the man from Cancun. And I look forward to seeing what happens to the left arm next.
Well, Mrs. Hunns is very happy with it.
Has she had one?
No, she hasn't had one, but she's happy with the tattoo. She thinks it makes me look sexy.
Good news.
Should we move on?
Yes, let's move on. Should we talk about heavy metal music? Because that's funny as well.
Yeah, we could do. Yeah,
Come on then. Let's get into it, Mr. Hunns. Tell me all about the music that's been rocking your tattoo this week.
Well, you know, on the last pod, I think it was the last one, where you talked about an album from 2024. Or was the one before? Was it the Von Herzen brothers?
2 episodes ago. Oh, blimey, the old Alzheimer's setting in there, mate.
Yeah, Von Herzen, wasn't it? You were talking about?
Von Herzen brothers.
Yeah, I'm going to go into 2024 as well. And
okay.
I'm going to talk about an album. I think this is the best rock and roll album I've heard in years.
Huge statement.
Yeah, possibly 20 years.
Wow.
It's not a heavy metal album. It's a hard rock and roll album. It has got me, to quote a previous episode, frothing at the gills.
Oh, that's exciting. So who is it? Pray tell.
It's a band from Vancouver called Lions in the Street.
Lions in the Street. Oh, really? And are you very, very excited about this band?
Very excited about this band. The album's called Moving Along. I could talk about it for hours. I'm just going to say, if anybody out there loves the Stones how they used to be, early 70s swagger, loves the Faces and that groove of the Faces, Georgia Satellites. You remember when you first heard Georgia Satellites and you went, "Oh yeah, I love this."
Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, it's
that
all.
one.
Yeah, seriously, it is just a no apologies, 1970s all the way, rock and roll. The sound is just absolutely nailed on. There's 2 brothers in the band.
Names of?
Kinnan, the brothers Kinnan. So
right.
There's a guy called Chris on vocals and guitar, and his brother Jeff's on drums.
Right.
There's only 4 of them, but they're unapologetic and they just absolutely nail it. Standout tracks. Title track is just unbelievable. Stonesy song. The second one, track called Mine Ain't Yours, literally could be lifted from Exile. It's that good. Every song is an absolute foot tapper. Go and listen to them. I can't wait to see them.
I'm aware of Lions in the Street.
Yeah.
I like the record. I'm not quite as completely blown away as you are. And I wonder whether that's got something to do with the fact that
I've got
you've got better taste than me. I do like the record, but like you say, it is a facsimile of that kind of 70s Rolling Stones vibe. And I guess the question that springs to mind for me is, are you okay with bands that are shamelessly derivative of another band? All rock bands are derivative in some way. It's not an art form that is always designed to move the dial, to take things forward. It can do, because obviously there have been great changes in rock music when thrash metal came along. That was a huge change from what had come before. So it's not like rock music is completely inert, but a lot of rock music draws on influences, and I have no problem with that at all. I guess the question I'm asking is, for you, does it ever move over into, okay, this is so similar to another act, no matter how good it is, that it becomes a pastiche?
No, not when they are... Is pastiching a word? Not when they're pastiching a band who were absolutely at their peak long before this band were born. We were still in our nappies when the Stones were probably at their peak. Not when they're pastiching something that was just so wonderful at the time. No. I think I love it when I hear bands that are clearly influenced by that sort of music. You said your sweet spot was that period of music.
Very much so.
I don't know how old these guys are.
30s, maybe 40s, yeah.
But for them to just go, no, that's the music we love, and that's the music we're going to be inspired by. We're not going to try and fit a formula of what's current now. This is the music that we grew up listening to, and this is the music we're going to try and make. So when it's done like that and it's done really well, I haven't got a problem with it. There's been plenty of bands that have tried to recreate that sort of Stonesy vibe, but have never got the sound right.
Right.
These guys have got the sound. It's just a brilliant record, and everybody I've shared it to, they're frothing at the gills as well.
Okay, so Lions in the Street, and the album's called Moving Along?
Moving Along.
Okay, so that's a passionate plea from you for a new band. I like it too, though I'm slightly less enthusiastic than you are, but that's not meant to be a criticism because I do like that record.
Well, sometimes you've got to piss on someone's chips to make a good podcast.
You do. So, Hunnsy, you're always going, let's get him on whenever we talk about anybody in the world of rock.
Yeah, Hunnsy's Let's Get It On.
Finally, let's get it on, shall we? Because we've actually managed to get somebody on the show. Unbelievable.
Well, we've already had Michael Coons. So
we had Michael Coons, but it's been a long, long time.
Has he sent the T-shirts, by the way?
No. Fucking hell, Coons. Where are those T-shirts? Anyway, today, Red Letter Day, our next Get Him On is none other than the mighty Neil Carter, Wild Horses, UFO, Gary Moore, multi-instrumentalist.
Gilbert O'Sullivan.
Gilbert O'Sullivan. I've forgotten Gilbert O'Sullivan. How can that be?
Moggs Motel.
Oh, yeah. Stop it now. So Neil Carter, a favourite man of mine and a man with a million stories to tell about his incredible career, not only as a rock star, but also as a lover of cats, a judge of cat competitions, and also a teacher of the clarinet. So if you want to hear the full version of our chat with Neil Carter, we'll be putting that up very shortly. Probably the day after you hear this, you'll be able to go and listen to the full unexpurgated version. But for now, a teaser, 5 or 6 minutes of some of the gold that we managed to mine from the mind of Neil Carter. So don't forget to go and check out the full interview when it appears and enjoy this. Right, Hunnsy,
yes.
I'm very excited today because we have a guest who, he'll blush if I say this, but he's absolutely one of the nicest men I've ever met in my 40 plus years working in rock. You know him as top multi-instrumentalist with rock artists such as UFO and Gary Moore and even Wild Horses. It's Neil Carter. You said to me that really playing rock music, not that hard. Is that true?
No, I don't find it hard. What I love about it, I have to be more positive, I love the interaction with the crowd.
Not the other musicians.
Oh, yeah, providing they're behaving themselves. I enjoy playing in the band. I'm a much better team player. I do not want to be front and centre. I enjoy a supportive role. I probably show off a bit too much because I'm enjoying it. But I like the interaction with the crowd. And I like the playing heavy like rock music. I like playing rock music. But in a way, UFO music suited me more than Gary's stuff. So when I went back to UFO in 2019, I'd forgotten how much I really did enjoy playing those songs. It's much more straightforward. It's very easy not to forget it. So you can just carry on and just have a good time and make the audience have a good time.
When you said it was easier to play with UFO than Gary, were you talking simply about the complexity of the songs?
Yeah. With Gary, you're working with someone that is very precise and very centered on what they're doing. Whereas UFO was a little bit more haphazard.
A little bit.
You're being very polite, aren't you? Just say it was fucking chaos.
It was chaos, yeah. A lot of the time. Yeah, I think I could be freer with UFO. I'm not an introspective musician. I don't sit there studying my fingers and thinking what I'm doing. I just want to be... Pete Way was exactly the same. He could be doing it and he wasn't even plugged in, so he could have a good time.
Was that your idea?
No. No. We were playing this massive thing in Chicago, one of those big venues, and it was a 12,000 seater. And I can remember playing something like Too Hot to Handle, and probably about a third of the song, his lead had come out, but he was still in there, giving it everything. And he didn't even know, really, just to be able to do that sort of thing. We never rehearsed much. UFO would go for like 2 o'clock and then go to the pub after half an hour.
The Wild Willing and the Innocent album, it only had 8 songs on it.
Yes.
And
yes.
Obviously we're going, 8 songs, bloody hell, that's not a lot. Normally when you're making an album, producers banging the table going, right. I looked at it and went, obviously it was self-produced by the band, so it's hardly surprised that you only did 8 songs.
No, and cost a fortune. Just went on and on. That one ran and ran. And actually, for once, not exotic locations. That was quite good. They'd already done the backing tracks when I joined, so I didn't actually have a lot of input into that side of things and not in the songwriting at all. But then we did all the backing vocals because Phil always tends to, and he still does, you tend to do the backing track and Phil will tweak it and then put the vocal where he sees the vocal. You don't write it as a song. And usually that was done like with UFO, sometimes in Montreux, Queen's studio costing X million a day, and our producers staying at the very, very expensive hotel, the Palace that overlooks the lake. And that's why UFO never had any money. the basic underlying thing of UFO is there's a great affection, even if they want to tear each other's heads off at some point. But you've always got that humour running through it. And I still have that with Phil now. Gary, I knew a bit about, and I'd known him through his time in Thin Lizzy because we were managed by the same managers with Wild Horses. And Gary could be quite moody and intimidating. He was very warm and lovely and funny, but he could be very intimidating. He was quite sort of moody. But once you knew him, he wasn't. He was a very different person. They needed someone because Don Airy was going back to Aussie, I think, and they were doing a tour with Def Leppard. Third on the bill to Def Leppard in America. And it was Ian Pace playing drums. I thought, well, if Ian Pace can do this, I can certainly do this. You know, playing 40-minute set on a 3-act bill. It goes to show you just have to put your ego to one side and just do it. And I just thought it would be good. And I needed to work. I haven't got any money. But it was an instant hit between Gary and I. We did work well together. And I just got offered a permanent position with Gary.
Your time with Gary Moore was super successful, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. UFO, unfortunately, had gone down. Whereas Gary's star was in the ascendant. The landscape changes. It always does. Gary was such a talented guy. I didn't realise how big it would become, but I was so pleased to be involved with it.
I didn't realise how big your hair would become.
God, I know.
And your trousers.
Trousers, the whole lot. I had an absolute thing about Alana from the Thompson twins. I thought her image.
Oh, really?
I thought she had an amazing image.
I can see that now.
Your look developed with Gary. I always thought you were like the Vita Scarolitis of rock. You know?
Yeah.
The trousers went up, the jacket sleeves went up.
Yeah.
You had those MC Hammer trousers.
Yeah, guilty as charged. I look back on it now. The hairspray. I had a flight case. The hairspray.
Brilliant.
Everything was backcombed to buggery.
It's all very well us saying all this, though, Neil. What you say is what you two fucking clowns look like at that time, eh? So there you have it, a little bit of our Neil Carter interview. Hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you go and check out the full-length version. Shall I tell you what I've been listening to, Huntsy?
Yeah, go on.
In the vein of what we've just been discussing, where you're kind of going, what is the level of derivation that is acceptable for rock music? What kind of influences are, for me, allowable while still trying to produce something that's original? This band is a really interesting group. I've followed them since I was probably, 15 years old, when they actually came and played in Manchester, and I saw them at the university there with probably, 20 people maybe in the audience.
Okay.
I'm sure this isn't a false memory. I'm sure this actually happened. And the band, well, they have two names. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, they have two names. They were called, when I first discovered them, Angel City, but actually they weren't called Angel City. They were actually called The Angels, and they were a band from Australia who had been forced to change their name, I think, when they started to get a bit more notoriety outside of their home country and things, signed an American record deal and what have you. And of course, there was also the tremendous glam metal band Angel that existed, the high hair, Punky Meadows, the hairspray, all that nonsense. So I think they were advised or even forced to change their name so there wouldn't be any confusion. So the Angels became Angel City, but I like to refer to them as the Angels because, I'm a traditionalist. Do you know the band?
My knowledge of them is limited. You're going to have to fill me in on that.
Okay, so the album I was listening to this morning, I was in the gym very early, 7:30, so I deserve props for that, don't I? And the album I listened to while I was on the elliptical machine is called Dark Room. It's the 4th album by the Angels, and it came out in June of 1980, so a long time ago now.
Yeah.
And the best way of describing the Angels to you is, imagine if AC/DC had gone to art school and sat around smoking joints and listening to the Doors. I've been thinking about this, the best way to describe it to the single-digit listener.
Right.
And that's the best I can come up with, because it's a weird combination. They play these hard boogie riffs.
Yeah.
And then they mix it with a weirdy, ethereal vibe. There's quite a lot of organ in there, so that's why I came up with that Doors comparison.
Yeah.
The lyrics are absolutely not rock and roll ain't noise pollution. The main guy, Doc Neeson, who's the vocalist and also the lyric writer, was an art student, and he wrote very obtuse, almost poetic lyrics.
Right.
And mixed it with this ferocious, raw boogie riffs. If you've never heard them, it's hard to comprehend how those two things can sit together.
It's not meat and two veg then.
Well, it's meat. There's definitely meat there.
Right.
But there's a lot of gravy on your vegetables. But the album Dark Room I just think it's a classic. I think it's an undiscovered classic. Now, the Angels are actually really big in Australia. They were right up there with AC/DC for a while.
Wow. Okay.
If there are any Australian listeners to this wonderful podcast, I'm sure you'll know all about the Angels, and I'm hoping that you're very pleased that we're giving some props. But Dark Room, it's a really interesting record, as I say, because it's very different. The component parts aren't different, but the way they're assembled makes it sound like nothing you've ever heard before. The real authentic Angels, for me, is fronted by Doc Neeson, but Doc Neeson died 10 years ago already.
Okay.
He died of cancer, sadly, 10 years back. And I was always a fan from having seen him at the age of 15 in Manchester with nobody there. And he was a really wild performer. They didn't dress like metal people. He went on stage in a suit. He had short hair. He'd move more like Ian Curtis out of Joy Division than Robert Plant.
The way you're describing it sounds a bit like Dr. Feelgood.
It is kind of in a way like that. But as I say, there's definitely AC/DC influence there. So if you like them, then this is a band that's worth checking out because they take AC/DC and go into some dark corners with it. But there are some really brilliant songs. And No Secrets is the opening song and probably would be in my top 20 rock songs of all time.
Wow. Okay.
I love the way that Doc sings. He's a bit R&B and a bit punk. And we know that all those punk acts would derive from that R&B scene that was huge in the UK with, well, probably wasn't huge in the UK, but was a UK thing with Eddie and the Hot Rods and Dr. Feelgood and all that. That's where punk came from. They're a fantastic band. No Secrets is the one that I really like off this record, but there's also other ones like I'm Scared and Alexander. What kind of metal band would do a song called Alexander?
Well, Iron Maiden did Alexander the Great.
Yeah, but that's different because that's going back to O-level history, which is what Steve Harris specialises in. If you haven't heard them before, The Angels is the band. You might find them under the name Angel City. For me, Doc Neeson was the lightning spark in that group, and he's been gone 10 years. I actually interviewed him at Hunnsy about, well, it's got to be 12 years ago now if he died 10 years ago. I was doing my research this morning, and I was trying to find the audio of that interview, and I just couldn't find it anywhere. So I don't know if I've still got it, but if I do, maybe what I can do is try and pull out a couple of choice quotes from Doc so that people can get a little flavour of the Angels. The album I was listening to is Dark Room. There's a ton of other stuff that's out there that's up to about 1983 was really, late 70s, early 80s was the killer period. So go and check that out and report back to Teacher and let us know what you think.
What are we going to talk about on this episode?
We're going to talk about hair.
Oh, well, I haven't got...
Not the musical.
I haven't got any left.
Neither have I, really.
Oh, okay. So
I don't know why I was thinking about this, but it suddenly came to me that we hadn't discussed hair. And hair in metal is very important, isn't it? We were talking about the Angels there, and I pointed out that they all had short hair. Because when we were growing up, I'm sure you were the same as me in the northeast of England and me in Manchester, the length of your hair was absolutely crucial to your appreciation of metal, wasn't it?
It was very important, and you had to go through a lot of pain to get it to the length that you needed to get it to feel comfortable.
So what age did you first decide that you had to grow your hair? And when were you first allowed to grow your hair, more to the point?
I would probably say 12 was when I made the decision of, right, no more barbers for me. I got away with it to a certain point, and then the conversation probably happened with my parents where you need a haircut, and I think I probably had a conversation with them pointing at an album cover going, but I want my hair like him. And it was let go, to be honest with you. I think my parents were pretty liberal. They never told me to get your pretty haircut or anything. Their opinion was, if he's happy listening to music and growing his hair and he's not breaking into people's houses and robbing grannies, then we'd rather that than...
Well, I think that's extremely wise of them. They were clearly very wise people. But, of course, a lot of people, when we were growing up, didn't take that point of view, did they?
No. When I was going through various stages, once it had grown and once I'd started dyeing it and putting blue dye in it and God knows what else and spiking it up and wearing makeup, there were murmurings in the local village. I remember vividly both my mum and my dad overhearing people going, look at that freak over there. Both my parents on each occasion would say, don't judge a book by its cover. That's our son, and he's well educated, he's clever, he's intelligent. I don't know who they were talking about tonight.
No, they were wrong there, weren't they?
As long as I was happy and as long as I was passionate about something, they were quite liberal.
Well, hats off to them for that. What about your school?
Again, school was very similar. They tried. I think there was conversations with my parents, oh, your son's hair's getting a bit unkept sort of thing.
I think the word's unkempt, not unkept.
Unkempt, yeah. I think they were keener on trying to get me to cut my hair, but eventually backed down when they realised I wasn't going to.
I went to a bit of a posh school, and there
So did I.
rules was rules at my school, though. There was absolutely no debate about this in my school. Once your hair got past your collar, you were hauled in.
Did you go to school or were you in the army?
I'm not backing this as a modus operandi. It's just how it was. You were not allowed to have hair that went past your collar at our school. I had a friend, Barry Ellis. Barry listens to the podcast. Hello, Baz. He told me a brilliant story where the headmaster at his school, who was a Welsh fella, but he was in Birkenhead, Baz used to like wearing his hair long. And every time it got a little bit longer, they used to pull him in, and the headmaster would say, "Oof, Ellis, you look like a girl." Nowadays, you go, that's just terrible. You can't say things like that, can you?
I've got to admit, I had fucking brilliant hair.
Did you?
Oh.
Why would you say that your hair was brilliant?
Because I looked after it. I used to get it cut regularly, like just trimmed.
Keep it lovely.
Well, A, keep it lovely, but B, keep it growing. And it just grew. At one point, it was so long. I've got photographs which I...
Okay, so we're going to find these photos, aren't we, of us in our pomp.
Yeah.
And we're going to put those up. What's the longest you ever had your hair?
It probably went down to sort of below my boobs.
Yeah, way past the nipple.
And verging on the same length as the belly button.
Okay, that's pretty good. Was this an excellent prop for use in your local heavy metal club of a Friday night?
Oh, yeah. I'm not joking. Girls wanted my hair.
They didn't want you. They just wanted your hair. And did you say, unfortunately, it's attached to my head?
Yes.
And that's when the interest waned.
Yes, definitely. My lack of hirsuteness on my head now is probably down to the sheer weight of my hair at the time.
Yeah, you think that it just pulled it all out?
Yeah.
And never could it come back?
No, I don't think so.
Did I ever tell you about my hair incident with Iron Maiden when I went to Poland?
No.
I was 19 when I went to Behind the Iron Curtain with Iron Maiden. It's a very famous Kerrang story that came out in 1984, so long before the Iron Curtain had come down. And the Eastern Bloc was another world, wasn't it? You just knew that nobody had a pot to piss in. That's all we knew. So anyway, I'm going on this trip Behind the Iron Curtain with Maiden. It was really interesting. I was excited to be going. But when we got on the plane, we were flying from Germany. They'd done 2 days of pre-production in Germany before we got on the plane to fly to Poland. And on the plane, Rod Smallwood, everybody knows Rod, Maiden's manager.
The Sheriff of Huddersfield?
Yeah, the Sheriff of Huddersfield said to me, "Oh, bloody hell, HoJo, you know, don't you, that in communist countries, long hair is frowned on. You're not really allowed to have long hair over there. It's considered deviant." And I was going, in my naivety, I'm going, really? And I said to him, "But what about the band, Rod?" And he went, "Oh, they're artists. That's a different thing. That's totally different." No. You're just a journalist. It's not going to be allowed. And I'm worried they're not going to let you in. And anyway, long story short, he convinced me.
The thing is, I can just hear Rod say,
"Oh, yeah. They're not going to really let you in there. What are we going to do then?" And so he convinced me, brilliantly naive, that my long hair would cause a problem, and the only solution was to put it all up in a baseball cap when we went through customs.
Yeah.
And like a twat, I believed him. And of course, the whole band were in on the gag.
Yeah.
And so we get to the customs in Poland, and there's me brilliantly with all my hair piled up inside this baseball cap, wandering through customs, shitting myself that I'm going to get sent back. And then, of course, as soon as we got through on the other side, they're all just pissing themselves, going, "You fell for that." And there's all of them with hair down to their arses. And you just went, oh dear.
Oh, dear.
Showing up massively.
Have you got any photographs?
I don't think there's any photographs of me with the hair up in the baseball cap. I haven't seen any, but it was a brilliant gag. And what's even more brilliant is that I fell for it. Instead of just going, "Don't be so fucking stupid, those lot have got long hair, bollocks to you." No, I just did what I was told. So when did you finally succumb and cut your long hair, your luscious long locks?
I think it was when I moved to London.
What year was that?
That was like 94, 95.
Okay.
And I think the world of rock and metal was changing at that point. I was seeing less people with long hair.
Grunge came in and everyone goes, "Oh, grunge changed everything," and grunge, was year zero and all that. But actually, all the early grunge people had very long hair, didn't they? But then halfway through grunge, I don't know what happened, but everyone decided that long hair was over, didn't they?
Yeah, they
so
did.
Chris Cornell cut his hair, Lane Staley cut his hair. It was weird, wasn't it? It just kind of went almost overnight from everybody's got to have long hair to long hair's really over now.
Yeah, I did mine in stages. I cut it into like not a bob, because a bob makes me sound like I was in Red Cross or something, but I sort of took it in 3 stages. I wanted to get used to it. I eventually ended up with just something that made me look like Sid Vicious, I think, at one point. It just went all short and spiky. On one hand, I felt as if I'd made a terrible decision, but then on the other hand, I didn't, because I had a really good time when I cut all my hair off. I seemed to have more fun.
Did you have more success with the ladies?
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah, I see. It's an interesting point, isn't it? You know, when I decided to cut mine?
No.
Right. I got married in May of 1994 and I had long hair, very long hair. And I'd already gone, do you know what? I'm not feeling this anymore. I was 29 years old. I've had long hair for 10 years. For years and years, I felt very, very comfortable with very long hair. And then at that point, I started going, it's not me, this. Don't feel comfortable with it anymore. So anyway, the idea was that I was going to cut my hair and then get married. My soon-to-be wife at the time said to me...
The lovely Louise.
The lovely Louise said to me, don't cut your hair before the wedding. And can you work out why she said that?
Because you want to look back at photographs and... I don't know.
No, not really. I mean, it's nice to have photographs, actually, of the wedding with me with very long hair. I like that. But she said, don't do it, because what will happen is if you turn up for the wedding all of a sudden with a pristine short haircut, everyone's going to go, somebody like your mother-in-law or your mother
has made you do it.
Has made you do it for the wedding. And we don't want that, do we? No. And I went, you're absolutely right. So I got married with really long hair, went on my honeymoon to Thailand. As soon as I got back from Thailand, had the lot off, had a real short haircut.
Wow.
Yeah, funny, isn't it?
Yeah, I can say that though.
Yeah, the logic was good, I think.
She's smart, your wife.
She's a smart one, isn't she? She's much smarter than me. Now, you and I are both men of a certain age now, and both of us have short hair.
Yeah.
You're very short, mine's just short. Are you at one with this now?
Yeah, completely. I did grow it during lockdown.
Did you? How did that go for you?
I just got bored of it.
Did you?
Did
you look a sight?
Yeah, I looked a right mess.
That's because, funnily enough, about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, probably now, I tried it as well.
Well, I know you did. You played some gigs, and I was
played gigs with the hair.
You talk about my midlife crisis that you were going through one then.
Yeah, but I could cut my hair off. You can't cut your arm off. But I did try it, and then honestly, I woke up one morning and just looked in the mirror and went, "What a sight!
Yeah,
what a sight you are!" And also, it didn't help that a very good friend of mine looked at me because I wore it like in one of those, those top ponytails for a while on the top of your head.
Oh, the funny bun.
Yeah, and one of my dear friends, hello Jane, just took one look and went, "Fucking barley." And I went, oh, that's not a good sign. And it all had to go. It all had to go after that. The other thing I'm thinking about with long hair on older people is, what about that phenomenon now when you see some of the classic rock stars of the 70s who won't let it go?
So they all look like your mum.
They all look like your grandma.
Your grandma, yeah.
Particularly if you think about it, Coverdale.
Yeah, he's had his cut.
Yes, fortunately he has, which I think is a very wise move. Well done, Cov. Steven Tyler as well. They're the widow twankies of rock. They look like they're in a pantomime, don't they?
Yeah. Ricky Rocket from Poison.
Has he got a tremendous do?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's like, come on, mate.
What's he doing with it?
He's still trying to spike it up and all that sort of stuff. It's just, what are you doing?
And also, I'll tell you who else did something, man. Bruce Dickinson. For years, he'd had the short hair, hadn't he?
Yeah, he started growing it back again.
And he's grown it all back again, and it just looks dreadful.
To be honest with you, I think Bruce looks all right, actually.
Oh, you just say that because you know his manager. Mate, we've got to do the quick thing before we go.
Yeah, well, Facebook, HoJo and Hunnsy's Hard Rock House. Instagram, HoJo_and_Hunnsy. And Twitter is just HoJo and Hunnsy.
What's the email?
Oh, yeah, the email, hojoandhunsy@gmail.com.
Marvellous. So anybody who wants to contact us, and I'm always going to do my last thing before we go, if you can tell just one person about the beauty, the majesty of this podcast, we're going to all be rich. Well,
exactly.
If me and Hunnsy will, anyway.
Exactly. And that's what matters.
That's what matters. Mate, it's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed talking about particularly the hair thing. It made me laugh. It was good.
Hair thing was great. 2 good albums this week.
2 good albums. Lions in the Street, The Angels. Go and check them out. Matey, brilliant. Been great fun chatting. Can't wait to speak to you again next week. Same time, same place.
See you there.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.